there's an agenda posted. I would imagine we probably want to make a few modifications to that. Is there a motion to do that? Joe?
Well, I'd like to make a motion based on the availability of people that have asked to move one of the items up on the agenda. I'd like to make a motion to move 15 Umpqua Road to the top of the agenda right after the meeting minutes are approved.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
I'll second.
Okay, second from Chris. All in favor? Appears to be unanimous. Okay, terrific. Okay, so the first item tonight is the approval of the January 19th, 2022 regular meeting minutes. Comments or questions? Motion?
I'll put a motion to approve the January, was it 18th meeting minutes?
19th.
19th meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Ron. All in favor?
Aye.
Looks to be unanimous. Tom,
I'm abstaining. I
Joe,
wasn't at the meeting.
that's right. We missed you, Joe.
You have 3 in favor and 2 abstain.
Yeah. Okay. So moving right along to 15 Umpqua Road. Let me, for the benefit of Tom and Chris, give a bit of a background on this, and then I'm going to ask for an update on the conversations that have taken place with Wright Pierce. Unfortunately, a few of those conversations Matt has had, and Matt cannot join us tonight, but I believe that John Bodie is up to date on that. So the kind of the 2-minute background on this project is this originally came in a different format, a much smaller development back in 2020. And there was quite a bit of discussion, healthy debate about the feasibility of tapping into the 8-inch sewer line in front of this property. The decision was made by the commission that it was not a good idea. And the discussion led to the applicant pursuing a workaround. I think somebody might have two open mics. Okay. The discussion led to a pipe going out through the back of the property to Sanford Street, and we gave that conception conditional approval, where the applicant was going to assess the feasibility of doing that. We did that as an accommodation so that they could get this project in front of planning and zoning. It's my understanding that planning and zoning did not approve that project. The project has now come back to us with a different council and a different conceptual plan that is roughly double the size of the original application, and that originally came to us in, I believe, October of last year as not a complete application, but more of a schematic without the requisite flow monitoring information. That flow monitoring information was captured in the fall. Came to us, I believe, a day or so before the January 19th meeting, and indicated that that the proposed flows at a peaking factor that was not 4, I believe it was 2 or 2.5, would put this over an 80% threshold in the event of a half-an-inch rain event. The discussion in January's meeting was that we were not licensed engineers. This is probably beyond us, and some discussions with Wright Pierce would take place. Those conversations have taken place, and I'm going to turn that now over to John Bodie, who's head of the department, to tell us what the department's view is on that.
We did discuss the proposal with Dennis from Wright Pierce. And the industry standard best practice is 80%. They hit 81%. Matt, who is not able to join us tonight, is also an engineer. There was some discussion between those two, and we've all come to the conclusion that the 80% threshold is where we have to stand firm. We can't disallow, we can't go above the 81%. So there is not any written what's the word I'm looking for? There wasn't any written report from Wright Pierce. It was just discussions between Matt, who's an engineer, Dennis, who's an engineer, and myself. And the 80% stands, and I think more flow monitoring would justify if that was an anomaly or it's something out of the ordinary, and then we can move forward.
Okay, I believe a conversation has taken place relative to the desire of the town, given the where we are with the pipe usage, where this pipe is located, the size of the pipe. It's an 8-inch pipe. That more monitoring was necessary. I believe it's the applicant's position that we've had enough time to consider this, and we're on the clock, so to speak. So. I believe a decision needs to be rendered this evening, and I think that's where we are right now. I'm going to open it up to the commission for comments and questions, and then turn it over to the applicant for any response.
Marcus, the applicant's, I don't believe the applicant's attorney is on this call.
Yes, Attorney Smith is here this evening.
Okay. All right. I mean, again, I read through the letter a couple times. It speaks to, I mean, I think in some degree questions the authority of the WPCA and relative to the 80% rule, which I mean, I certainly think is reasonable. I think, you know, I don't think you want less than 20% cushion. You know, I am concerned that, you know, on the basis of the meeting, the reading the minutes from last week, that, you know, based upon what is known now, in the absence of further data, that we've not met the bar for you know, enough capacity for that pipe. I don't know if anybody disagrees with me on that point.
I think it is a kind of a line in the sand.
Joe.
Yeah, Tom, I just wanted to respond. Tom, I've been on the commission 6 years, and this is a best practice, that 80%. My biggest concern here would be I do not want to set a precedent. I mean, bad enough, it's in a very sensitive part of town by the gazebo there in the center of town. But my concern is we have never approved a project that has gone over 80% in the time I've been on the commission. And I'd be concerned about setting a precedent because of that.
Yeah.
So I think
I agree with you. Absolutely.
I think I'm agreeing with you on your concern.
Okay.
I will say my concern really was, you know, as we have climate change and we have storms that are increasing in magnitude, that a ½ rain event used to be a big event. We're now seeing rain events of 1 to 2 inches. I've been in downtown Fairfield in such an event. You cannot cross Post Road. We don't know how much I&I is in the system. And we really don't want a situation where these folks in an extreme rain event go to flush their toilets and that sewage is coming up in the middle of downtown Fairfield. I asked Wright Pierce if they could model such a scenario, absent having one, waiting for an inch or an inch and a half or a 3-inch rain event. I was hoping that there might be an algorithm that could handle that. I've been told that one does not exist. You need to wait for the event. So for what that's worth. Any comments or questions before we turn it over to the applicant? Okay, Attorney Smith.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the WPCA and professional staff. For the record, my name is Chris Smith of Alton Pearson on behalf of the owner of the property, 15 Umpqua Road LLC. And I have some questions. I know at the last meeting, you were going to be reaching out to Wright Pearson. I thought in particular relative to the spike. I mean, all this conversation that we're having is based on almost 4 months worth of testing where there's one data point that seems to be completely out of sync with all the other data points that were obtained during that almost 4-month time period. And I know that we were told to do more monitoring as if that was going to solve the problem. I still don't know what that monitoring would involve, but I guess, and I had inquired with staff, it might have been Monday, if Wright Pierce had been contacted, and if so, if there had been any written report. Obviously, there has not been a written report. I don't know. I'd like to know who Matt and Dennis are. I just have no clue. Mr. Bodie, who is that?
Dennis Divert works for Wright Pierce. He's usually our main contact. Matt is one of the board members here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I know who Matt is then. I just didn't realize when you said Matt, I thought it was somebody at Wright Pierce. And were they contacted about this spike at 279 that one day? Gallons per minute?
They were given all the information. They were given all the information that you submitted to go over.
Oh, there's Mr. Bodie. I'm sorry.
Yep.
And I recall, I did watch that meeting again, that they were going to be contacted about the spike. Were they asked about that? And I mean, we were told to do more monitoring. I'm not sure what we're expected to do and what would resolve that issue, if at all.
I don't think anybody
they were
can.
being contacted about, Mr. Bodie. I'm sorry.
No, I just don't think anybody can definitively say what caused the spike. Was it flow? Was it debris? We don't know. And how can we base a decision on something that we don't know?
Well, I'm not quite sure why my client would be held to almost $1 million worth of improvements based on one spike when there was, out of, again, almost a 4-month time period, when there was absolutely no particular storm event during that time period. So either your system failed, but there was no surcharge, there was no anything relative to a storm event that occurred at that time period. So, and I thought that was the position that, I thought we made that clear, that we were, it's suspect, to be honest with you, why we were being held to that, and that we were told to do more monitoring. And we said, well, what are we going to do more monitoring for? You already have 4 months worth of monitoring. And I thought they were being contacted relative to the spike, and if that could be resolved, because that without that spike, we're at the 50%. We're 30% below this rule of thumb 80%, which I'm hearing is a standard in the industry. And I'd also would like to know, Wright Pierce isn't here, but maybe you can respond to it in your capacity. What's that standard? Where is that standard?
It's not written.
I'd
It's
like
just
to know about the spike.
It's an industry standard best practice. It's not a written rule. It's not what everybody goes by, but it's the best practice. It's the best guideline to use. And as far as the spike, nobody can say exactly what it was. Was it flow? Was it debris? We don't know. We can speculate.
So I would just like to know where the standard is and what industry, what type of guideline or document that's provided in. And also, if we're to do more testing, I mean, either just tell us now if you're going to hold us to the 80%. My client's being told to do more monitoring as if that's going to resolve it. I have no clue if we do 4 more months of monitoring, if that's going to be satisfactory to the commission. And if there isn't any, this closest spike is the one that occurred at the 50% level again. I don't know if you're just going to hold to this one day, and if that's that one data point, if that's the case, then obviously there's no need to do any further testing. Excuse me, monitoring. I'm just trying to understand what my client is being told to do and why. That's all.
Well, it's my understanding that your client was asked to leave the monitors in, that these two rain events came within a 48-hour period, and that if more data was collected, we would have a greater source of information to measure. It was your client's decision to remove those monitors. I think what you're hearing from the commission is that we are beholden to an 80% standard. And I think that there's even a level of discomfort at that, given what's going on in the climate around us and what may happen to downtown Fairfield. We understand that your client does not want to increase the capacity of this pipe. You've made that clear for a number of years. And we said no at 35 units. You're now back at 65 units. So, I think we're at a position now where we're prepared to put this motion forward and take a vote, unless there's additional information you'd like to add.
I have some things that I have a few questions for Mr. Edwards that I would just like to have made part of the record. Since I'm really not getting anything definitive for responses to my questions, then we don't have anything further, but I would like to ask Mr. Edwards a series of questions. It'll be quick. Mr. Larry Edwards, Larry, I see that you're here, Mr. Edwards. Is there sewers currently servicing the subject property?
You know what? Actually, I don't know this cross-examination what this is actually doing for us as a commission. We asked for the application to be put forward. The application's in front of us. I believe that we're in a position to bring this to a vote.
So,
May I respond to Attorney Smith? Clearly, if you want to put it on the record, you've been monitoring the pipe. There is a sewer service in the area, sir.
thank you.
That answers your question.
And it's Mr. Edwards, it's not in a sewer avoidance area, the subject property. You're muted.
Mr. Smith, you're wasting our time. The questions are off record. We are making a decision to allow your client to connect to a sewer, which is in Fairfield, and it's in a proper area. It's the capacity of the sewer that we're concerned with.
And I'm just trying to ask questions of our expert, but if I'm being told that I should not be doing that and to stop, then that's fine.
Yeah, please stop.
I'll
Is there a
stand
mo-
down.
Yeah. Is
Just
there a
note
mo-
that it was, I wasn't able to ask those questions. Thank you.
Understood. Is there a motion? Joe?
I'd like to make a motion to deny for Mr. Smith's concern without prejudice to allow a 65-unit residential at 15 Umpqua Road based on the flow data submitted where the calculated peaking factor exceeds the 80% capacity best practice guidance adhered to by the commission.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Tom. Comments, questions?
Yeah, so to be clear, the vote is to deny. So when we're voting yes, we're voting no.
That's correct.
That is correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make it clear.
Okay. Let's see, I believe,
Nancy, we're voting without prejudice, so they could bring it back after we resolve the other issues.
Yes, understood.
okay. Nancy, I cannot see you. What is your vote?
Sorry, so voting yes
Yes.
to deny.
Tom?
Deny.
Chris, you are abstaining, correct?
Abstain, that's correct.
Joe?
Yes to the motion.
Ron?
Yes to the motion.
I'm a yes as well. That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Stay well.
Okay, moving right along to new business. First item in front of us is to consider and act on a request for a proposed 9-unit residential building at 321 Reef Road. I believe this recently came into the department. It's, I must say, it's in a kind of a form and format that is, I would say, not fully baked. I didn't see a peaking factor. I didn't see capacities. John, do you have any color on this?
I think Bob Weiwei is here today. Are you there, Bob? Would you like to?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Clear.
got you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bob. Did you just want to give some
Okay,
update?
yeah, we presented an application into you guys for 321 Reef Road. The project right now, there's an existing medical building on the site, two-story building. As part of the proposal, that's proposed to be converted over to residential development, consisting of a total of 9 units. There was flow monitoring done by EST Associates over a 4-week period, beginning December 22nd of 2021 through January 19th of 2022 at 2 different locations. Location one was on a 10-inch sanitary line located at 283 Oldfield Road in Catherine Terrace. And the second location was at 102 James Street, which is a 27-inch line, which is a main trunk line. So the monitoring was done over there. We took a look at the data that was provided by EST. We extracted the maximum flow data for both locations. There was an anomaly at one of the locations where both the minimum flow rate and maximum flow rate occurred within a 45-minute period. So when we looked at that data, it just didn't seem right. And after reviewing it, I did contact EST Associates to go over and review the data, and they basically attributed that to a blocked sensor for the jump going from a minimum flow rate to a maximum flow rate in that short period of time. So we threw out that value and then took the next maximum flow rate, and the calculations were all included within the report. So for site 1, we ended up having a maximum flow of 348 or approximately 349 gallons per minute, which equates to about 502,000 gallons per day. And at site 2, the max daily flow was 2,423 gallons per minute, which equates to approximately 3.5 million gallons per day on that particular line. Now, as part of our analysis, we didn't take any credit for the existing building in terms of the flows. And we took and applied the design flow rates from the residential units using the Town of Fairfield criteria formula for the units. And what we came up with is that based on the 9 residential units, that equates to approximately 2,607 gallons per day. We did apply a peaking factor of 4 to that, which brings us to 10,430 gallons per day for the proposed flow for the residential. And when we took a look at the existing flows that were coming out of that, it brought us from at site 1 from 502,416 gallons per day. That brought us up to 512,846 gallons per day, approximately a 2.1% increase at the site 1 location.
Bob, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you help us out in what percentage of the pipe that is? For those of us trying to do math at home?
Yeah, let me see, because we typically didn't include that in the report. So at the site 1 area, which is on the 10-inch line, based upon the calculations that we did, the existing capacity was approximately 86.3%, and that was based on the existing flow data. At site 2 for the 27-inch line, the existing capacity was approximately 71.6%. So when we apply our factors on top of that, obviously they're going to be higher for the increased flow rates. At Site 1, that brought us to approximately 88.1%, and at Site 2 to 76.4%. Now, I guess, just from listening to the previous application that the commission took action on, for Site 1, we're clearly over that 80% threshold, but we're starting over the 80%, just based upon the monitoring data. So I'm not sure how the commission would approach that.
So for the commission members, this is a 10-inch pipe that is probably a quarter mile from the 15 Umpqua site. So the fact that this is coming in at over 80% is something that we need to figure out what's going on here.
Right. Well, I mean, I can't change what's there today. Based upon the monitoring data that we were provided by EST, that's what the numbers bear out. So for that maximum date that we used in the calculations, which I think was taken on January 22nd, January 12th of 2022, that had the flow rate of 349 gallons per minute.
John Bodie, has the department had a chance to review this?
Not intensely, no.
Okay.
No. I mean, what concerns me is that we're over 80% before we even start adding more flow. And for that,
well, yeah. Now let's just take a look at the flow, because, like, let's say for the sake of argument that that this development doesn't go through. We already have an existing medical facility on site, so that medical facility would actually have a higher flow rate than what we're proposing for the residential. So I guess, and again, I wasn't aware of the 80% threshold that you guys are using. I mean, we've done a couple of these applications in Fairfield in the past, and I guess the 80% was never raised, for the applications that we did. So again, I mean, we took a fairly conservative approach of not considering what the existing medical building could yield to that system. So again, if we took a look, and I did take a look at some flow data for the usage that would be based upon the medical facility, and applying some standard flow values for medical use, there would be a flow of approximately 3,336 gallons per day. And if we apply a peaking factor of 4 to that, that brings it up to 13,344 gallons per day. So what we're proposing with the residential is approximately 3,000 gallons per day less flow than what would currently be permitted as a medical building right now today. That's already connected to your system.
Hey, Rob, Chris Steiner, I have a question for you. Because I was just reviewing on your capacity there. On your capacity, you have, I think, 581,000 gallons per day?
About 581,000, yes.
And because I'm just trying to compare the different capacities of the pipe, because what pipe was this? Was it a VCP pipe?
No, I think that was, let me pull the information up. I think that was an asphalt coated pipe. Yeah, it's a 10-inch AC.
Because the interesting thing that I was running into is that for the capacity of the same 10-inch pipe on that the Umpqua Road was looking at there, they had 10-inch VCP pipe, and they had a capacity of, from their formulas, at over 774,000 gallons per day of capacity.
Right, but that could be the variables on that would be what the slope of the pipe is and what the friction factor is on the pipe also.
Yeah.
So I believe, again, I believe that I was fairly conservative in the friction factor on that. We were using 0.015 for the roughness coefficient in the calcs. And likewise, the 0.23% slope on the pipe was taken from the town of Fairfield sewer as-bills. So again, if the flow rates were higher, that 10-inch pipe I could have had a steeper slope.
It had a less slope on it. That's why I'm just trying to figure out what's what there, because I got, on the uphill capacity, it's 774, and then what you're saying is more at 581. And I'm just trying to look at what's the capacity of the pipe. I understand that the calculations can change here and there. I'm just trying to figure out what's what on either end, so we can see what exactly, how much percentage it is in the pipe.
Okay, well, again, on our report, it's probably buried down. It gets into the support data that goes with it, but there are all the calcs are in our report. So it shows it shows the capacity of the 10-inch both for the max recorded flow during the monitoring period. It shows the full capacity of the 10-inch pipe based upon the slope and the end value that we were using in the calculations, as well as what the proposed flow would be by adding, the additional 10,000 gallons per day. And again, the 10,000 gallons per day. I mean, I think I took a fairly conservative analysis because, again, I didn't, in essence, I could have, if we factored in the medical building, we could have taken flow away also, or we could have showed a reduced rate.
And just for my record, just for my thoughts, the engineers use all the same calculations kind of for the different slopes and different composite pipes.
Yeah, again, I mean, I'm using a typical Manning's equation.
Okay, yeah, and that's kind of what everyone uses. I'm new to this, so I'm just trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so again, I'm not sure, the one with Uncleville Road, I'm not familiar with the data that they're using, so I'm not sure why their values are higher than what we're estimating.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Well, this is a first in my tenure. I've not come across. I've not seen a pipe that with that level of usage. John Bodie, is there a way to scope this pipe? We're making assumptions based on mathematical equations, but what we really need is a visual, I would think.
Well, I could have the crew camera. Yeah, sure. We could throw a camera in there and see what's really happening, how full the pipe is, and we could do it at certain times after certain events. I mean, if we get some rain, maybe we can go take a look. Dry flow, we could take a look. Get a real feel.
Ron Drew.
Yeah, and I think, you could take a look at the monitoring data that was provided by EST, and they have all the charts and the data in there. And, the flow rates, for what they're recording for the maxes, they seem to be pretty uniform for that monitoring period, with the exception of that one spike period that I mentioned, and that's why we kind of threw that out of the equation as being an anomaly. But the rest of the data, if you look at the maximum dailies, they're all pretty consistent. I mean, probably within 10%.
Site 1 is the 10-inch.
Yes, site 1 is the 10-inch. Yes.
$502,000 gallons a day.
Ron Drew.
Something sounds fishy here to me. I've been here 2 terms, close to 10 years, and I've never seen a pipe that's got 88% capacity. And then we've got other things going on around the post road there, too. So, and this all filters down through the same type pipes because the treatment plant's right down the street. We got rain event coming Thursday night into Friday where they're saying between 1 and 2 inches of rain, and it's going to be downpours. So it'll be interesting to take a look and see how the water's flowing through that pipe.
I mean, even looking at their monitoring data with the flow depths, they had, again, right around when they had that anomaly in there with the spike down and spike up, they had the pipe flowing full, which would have been surcharged, based upon the sensor data. But if the sensor was blocked, then obviously that's erroneous data. But if you look at the rest of the peaks that were up in that area, they're right up around 7.5 inches or so on the depth of the pipe. And just go back and check our calcs to see what we were estimating for the depth on that. And based upon the flows that we looked at, we were looking at for that max day of 348.9 gallons per minute. That translates to a flow of depth of 7.2 inches. So I'd say that has a pretty good correlation with the data that's in the EST report.
So 7.2 on a 10-inch pipe.
Yeah.
I think it prudent for me to send the guys out there to check that line and see if there's maybe a partial blockage somewhere or see what the actual health of that line is.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if you're going to find blockage, because again, I mean, if I'm just looking at the monitoring data, I mean, with the exception of that one date, everything else looks pretty good. I mean, you can see the peaks go up, you see the peaks go down, and they're pretty consistent. And the same thing with the depths of flow. You can see that the depths of flow are hitting the target, so that when the max flow rate was recorded, so was the maximum depth of flow in the pipe. And likewise, when the minimum rates were occurring, the minimum depths in the pipe were also occurring too. So even for what was there for the minimum depths, they were probably around 6.5 inches or so.
Yeah, I'm surprised this is the first time we're hearing about it. I would have expected that we would have picked up on this in the flow monitoring on 15 Umpqua, as it's just slightly downstream. And if we thought that 15 Umpqua was a problem before, it's even more so a problem now with additional. John Boney, the 15 Umpqua 8-inch pipe is the one that connects into this 10-inch pipe, correct?
Eventually, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We need to look at the pipe. We need to stick the camera in there and see. I mean, blockage maybe is not the right word. Maybe there's enough grease built up around it that it shrinks the 10-inch pipe to a 8-inch pipe or a 7-inch pipe. And a simple flushing of it and a cleaning of it, scouring it, we'll open it back up to capacity. I don't know.
Okay.
We have a camera to look in it too, so.
All right. All right. Well, we have an action. We'll consider an act on the request tonight. So we're going to need a motion to. Yes, Joe.
Can I just ask John one question? John, how quickly can you do that monitoring of that pipe? Do you have any idea?
Tomorrow?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion to defer to consider and act on request for the proposed 9-unit residential building at 321 Reef Road to a date certain next month. next month's agenda, John Clancy?
Yes, absolutely.
Or a second? Second, just beat out Chris there. That was close. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A quick question, Mark, on that, or John Bodie, on that, the flow rate for the gallons per minute, which would be the gallons per day, the size of the pipe wouldn't really change that at all, correct?
Change what? The size of the pipe wouldn't change the flow?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're saying you have a 10-inch pipe and you've got an inch of grease around it, now you made it an 8-inch pipe. So now you've changed your level.
Correct. Correct. But your flow, the maximum gallons per minute, which it's reading, it would still be the same if it was a 10 or 8-inch pipe, correct? Or is it different?
I can't answer it 100% honestly, but I think it would be different because you have a smaller pipe.
Okay.
I think so.
Right. But the sensors are what I would say are ignorant to the pipe size, because the sensors are picking up the flow through the pipe. So I think to answer your question is, even if that 10-inch pipe is crudded up to an 8-inch pipe, I don't think it would change the flow rate. And again, our calculations were based on a 10-inch pipe. We didn't take and say, okay, well it's only equivalent of an 8 or 9-inch diameter. So the max flow capacity is based on that 10-inch, on a full 10-inch diameter pipe, or what's available to it.
But that flow would stay the same, correct?
In my opinion, the flow would stay. The flow rate. Well, again, we're talking two different things. The flow rate is the maximum flow rate is what was recorded by EST.
Correct. That would stay the same no matter what size pipe.
In my opinion, yes.
But then whatever, even if we look at the pipe, your gallons per day is going to stay the same. Is that correct?
His flow rate's going to stay the same, but if you've got a bigger pipe, your pipe capacity is going to be less.
Okay, I agree.
So that works in their favor. If there is some crud built up in there, you're gonna lower what.
Yes.
You're gonna lower the percentage.
Correct.
Just by a simple cleaning. I'm not saying that that's it, but we might as well take a look.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just don't. The calculations are not going to bear that out, because again, when we take a look at and consider the pipe in a flowing full condition, that's based on the full 10-inch diameter. So that number doesn't change. So our calculations already bear out that we have a full 10-inch diameter available to us.
Yeah, I think we're just kind of going in circles. I think it's clear we need to pipe it. John Bodie, I'll be curious to know how long that 10-inch pipe is in the event it needs to be replaced. That would be helpful information. Sounds like once it gets over to the James Street area, it goes to a 27-inch.
Yes.
But I'll I said it before, I'll say it again. If we have capacity constraints here, it's going to be, everything backing up to it. It needs to come into our purview as well. Okay. Let's Bob, thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, now because I guess this is going to get put off till next month, is there anything else that we need to do from our end?
I would say stay in touch with John Bodie.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
All right. Thank you.
Next item on tonight's agenda, consider an act on a bond release for 1143 Sasko Hill Road. I believe this one will be simple and straightforward. If there's a motion to defer this, as this is not in an actionable state right now. They're asking for a partial release of a bond, and work still needs to be done to test the integrity of that pipe.
Right.
So can I get a motion to defer? Anyone?
So moved.
I'll second it. It's
Second
Nancy.
from Nancy. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. The next item on the published agenda is consider an act on a revision of the flow monitoring requirement on the I&I abatement policy. It's not clear to me what's being asked or requested here.
May I?
Please.
Yes, I put that on there because, we put that there in a place that, 15 Uncowa Road, we were gonna require more flow monitoring for them.
Okay.
So we just want to, if we did go through with that, then we would have to revise the, policy. But it doesn't look like that's gonna happen now, so.
Okay. So
So in other words, the
a,
policy,
no action item?
Yeah.
No action taken. Let's move on to the discussion on the budget for 2022 to 2023. Let me note that this is kind of the first initial preliminary draft, not a final version. Gives John Bodie an opportunity to preview a few of the highlights. And I'm going to, I suspect after a brief discussion, a few folks from the commission may work with John over the next few weeks to provide some more direct input to that. So, John, do you want to give us a quick overview of what's going on?
The biggest thing is this chargeback that the town is now implementing. They want to charge us for our use of the purchasing department, the finance department, the human resources department, the tax collector, and the engineering department.
And what is that total approximately?
$153,865. Now,
What was it? 153?
$153,865.
Gotcha.
Now, originally they had a total of $241,479.
Okay.
But they gave us a credit for the $90,000 that they use out of our money for the sewer bills for the town buildings.
Well done.
In essence, we have money in our account that we transfer to finance. We send out sewer bills to the town buildings. They come in. The finance department pays it to the general fund.
Joe.
In looking at this line number, and it's 53,200, guys, the actual allocation of town monies is second number, $241,000. The 90,000 that John is referring to is actually the WPCA paying the water bills for the town departments. That would include fire, the libraries, etc. I have sent an email to the chief financial officer of the town requesting some kind of clarification. Just not that the town is laying off their expenses to us. And he has not responded in 2 weeks. I will follow up.
That's the big ticket item. That's the big wow factor right there. For the rest of the budget, it did go up. Chemical costs are up. Parts are up. Everything's up. So it did raise up. We are adding a position. Go ahead,
May I
John.
ask you one additional question? I see, obviously the self-insurance is up, your supplies, which are okay, are up. And the bond and the interest is another number that is a legitimate charge to our account. It makes up 262,000 of the $1 million increase, but we did roll over a bond for the Sacred Heart. So that's all legitimate. What I have to ask you, John, hopefully in public meeting, we paid for a microgrid. Electricity didn't go down. Now I'm putting on my CFO hat from many years ago. How come we didn't we invested in a project and we're not seeing savings? I'm sure there's a great answer for this.
Well, the microgrid is not being built to lower our electric bill. The microgrid is for us to keep ourselves going in the event of a humongous storm where we lose electricity and we can't get a fuel truck here to fill up generators. So now we have a large natural gas we have two natural gas generators, but we have a large enough one that will run everything. And the microgrid will take all the components, and then all three generators start. Then the generators drop off, and it starts picking up, sending power to the specific spots, which includes the dog pound, the conservation building, and the fire training.
Fire training, my favorite place. John, my question is, that microgrid is running all the time. Aren't we sending electricity back into the grid, and don't we get compensated for that?
The microgrid is not running all the time. The fuel cell is running all the time. And
Microgrid isn't generating electricity all the time?
the microgrid?
Collecting and putting it back into the system?
The microgrid is not. The fuel
Oh.
cell is.
Oh,
The fuel cell is running all the time. That's producing electricity. Whatever we don't use but we use it all. And then there's the solar field up on the dump that is supposed to, in essence, make us, which I haven't seen the numbers, net zero eventually.
that's, I guess, it's the solar field, I guess I'm referring to, that the
Yeah.
electricity hasn't come down.
Yes.
Not the microgrid, I'm sorry. I call it all the same thing. Sorry.
Is the solar field supplying us a lot of electricity? I don't know. I've
Okay,
never seen the actual numbers. I know there's a bunch of equipment out there that hooks up to it, but
okay.
Hey, John, one quick question, referring back to those charges internal that you referenced, and what are the object codes, just so I can follow along on the budget?
uh,
Tom, what was your question? What are the, what?
For those,
all that comes out of 53,200.
Oh, the account number? 50.
the object code, I'm just following along on the spreadsheet.
53,200 is the line item, Tom.
Okay, great.
Yes. Do you have the Excel one?
Yes,
Yeah, 53,200.
great. Okay.
Now they sprung that on me after I completed the whole budget back in November. And then our first sit down in January, they said, "Oh, by the way, we're going to add this to your budget." So does anybody want anything specific?
I have a question for John.
Yep.
The email that Frank, your budget director, sent out, the number up there is 878,125. What is all that? Were you saying you got to either generate more revenue or cut back on expenses type of thing?
Where do you see that? I'm not. One that
Frank,
sent me?
Nice. No flip, no mess. Platinum is also a go-to grease cleaner for your sink, your counter. Tough. Treat stains on laundry. Faster, easier.
Frank Magneri?
Magneri, yeah.
Yeah. Since John sent you and copied Jarrett on a memo reviewing 878,125, and he's saying you need to raise revenue or decrease expense.
Yes. As I said, the original budget I did, we kind of had revenue and the budget even. And then they added in the chargeback, and then there was a position added for a project manager and the subsequent benefits with retirement and all that other stuff. So they're still tweaking. I think that 878 covers the chargeback, the position, and I think the bonding and the other interest stuff that wasn't made available to me when I first did the budget, because I didn't have that in there.
John, stop. I guess my question here is that it's been included in the latest budget, so I shouldn't have to worry about this.
Correct.
Ron, we worry about that when we set the rate. In the revenue budget is the number that we generate when we set the rate for the ratepayers. So
Yeah.
on that spreadsheet that everybody's looking at, that Excel spreadsheet, it has a second tab. And John has a plug number in that second tab that is actually makes it all come into to balance into zero.
Okay.
And that's the number we shoot for when we set the rate. Just from a mechanical point of view.
Okay.
Can I suggest that sometime over the course of the next couple of weeks and prior to the next meeting that maybe Joe and Tom, given their financial acumen and understanding of town budgets, spend an hour or so with John Bodie and go through this? I'm not sure exactly what to focus on, but my sense is that a few good things will come from that. And maybe make John Bodie's life a little bit easier because he's got a lot going on.
Here to make John's life easier.
I appreciate that, fellas and ladies.
That's a promise.
Tom, thank you. And Joe,
Nope.
thank you. Okay, let's move on to sewer adjustments because Luann Moore has been here, God bless her, for an hour.
Patience.
Yes.
It's
I'll be right back.
it's the parochial school background. You have to sit there and wait.
Oh, yeah. I felt that. I wanted to figure out how to move you up on the agenda, but
Oh, but no. I just wanted to make sure that because, as you say, we went from like a tiny manageable sewer bill to like, oh my God, we built a mansion and filled a
Yeah.
pool.
well, congratulations.
Yeah, well, it's a tiny house on a tiny lot, though.
I
But a very-
believe,
It's a very cute house if you've been by it.
yeah, it's a wonderful neighborhood.
Oh, I
Really
love Riverside Drive.
Yeah, my kids went to Sherman School. I have great memories of that area of town.
Oh, wonderful. You know, and it's interesting too that we're older and retirees, but it's turning over into kids again, which is really nice. I like
That's
that.
a great part of town.
Yeah.
Joe, did you do some homework on this? If you did, God bless you.
I did, and it definitely is an anomaly in the data. February 2021 for Luann seems to have been a big month, unless she had big parties and they were all showering and doing those parties. There's a problem.
The irony is we left the house and we weren't even there, but we had a toilet handle that's like a lever and it was up. Now I've learned the last thing I do is check the levers on the toilets and then turn the alarm on and leave. But when we came in, I saw that the lever was on and I thought, oh gosh, that's terrible. But then when I got the bills, not just the sewer bill, but the water bill, I went, oh, because we went from a very reasonable number. And again, we're not there and we're two people and a dog.
Yeah.
So, and it's not a big house and we weren't filling the pool that we don't have in February. So, and you can see now it's plummeted down to where it should be.
So Luann and her significant other have been paying the minimum 150 every year, except this year we hit her with a bill of about 900 and some odd dollars.
6 years.
I'm going to make a recommendation based on the fact that that toilet was not functioning properly, that we adjust her sewer bill back down to the 150 minimum sewer bill. And it looks like, Luann, you could correct me, you've paid half your bill, or you paid a portion of that bill.
Well, I you know,
paid $905.
I hate to owe people money. So yes, I probably did.
So this would wind up in a refund or a credit to her account of $755.28.
Given that discussion about what the town wants from this department, I'd like to keep it in the department. And we'll pay it forward.
Okay, John, your T&E just went up $755.
We'll pay it forward, and if you know, I'm happy to do that for the town because we're residents now, and we love Fairfield, and we love our street, but we don't really want to spend that much on our sewer bill.
No.
Mark, I'd like to make a motion to adjust the sewer bill down for 265 Riverside Drive to the minimum $150 bill and create a refund or a credit to the account for $755.28 based on the fact that the bill was paid.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Nancy, second. All in favor?
Aye.
That's
And you can see, I'll see you guys in like 2030 to pay my bill.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Take care, Luann.
Thanks. You guys, see you in town.
Okay.
All right, Magic, let's go out.
Lost Mark.
We lost Mark. Okay, let's go to the next agenda item, which is a sewer adjustment for Maria Drew at 31 Garden Street. I can't tell. Do we have Maria on the phone or anybody?
Maria
who has any-
Maria wasn't able to make it today, Joe.
Okay, thank you.
I got through this correspondence late this afternoon. I take it you got it, but if you have any questions, I'll be glad.
Okay, let me explain. It looks like there was a huge spike. Oh, here's Mark back. Sorry, Mark, we moved on to 31 Garden Street while you were away.
Yeah, I think
So
the phone number
there was a
could be-
spike in April 21, one of the months we calculate the bill, and we generated a bill which was almost double what they normally pay. Now, I would have asked Maria if there was anything going on that month, house guests, leaks, whatever, but she's not on the phone. In lieu of that, what I'm proposing is we take our prior year's bill, increase it by 5%, which is our rate increase year over year, which would generate a bill of $918.75 versus a bill of almost $2,200. She's paid the first half of that $2,200 bill. So we would wind up, if we go with this $918.75 annual bill, we would wind up either owing her cash or a credit for $190.77. So the gist of it is to use last year's usage, multiply it by this year's rate, and come up with her annual bill for this year.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that will say that was the motion.
That was the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I'm sorry.
Second from Chris. All in favor?
Well, I just have a,
Comments, questions? I'm sorry, Nancy.
yeah, I mean, it seems like a very reasonable thing to support, and she's not here to answer questions, but is there any value in delaying it when we can find out more just to avoid an increase for her? Or is this kind of typical if someone's not here?
John Clancy, have you had
Yeah.
any conversations?
Yeah, sure. If you guys don't mind, I'll speak for Maria. I spoke with her on the phone, and the reason is, as well, she had a leaky toilet. It wasn't the lever, but her nephew fixed it for free. She's an older woman, and she didn't realize till she got her bill how much of a leak she had. But she has no plumber's receipts, and because her nephew fixed it. So,
I mean, I'm sort of inclined, if it's an older woman and it's a toilet issue that she wasn't aware of, to not do an increase, but I mean, I defer to the group. I don't know historically what the right thing to do is.
I think Joe was just saying an increase because we increased our rates.
Right, I used last year's consumption, Nancy, as the basis.
Oh, got it. So it would be then modified to just reflect what is anyway. Got
Right,
it.
Yeah.
correct.
Got it. Got it.
Okay,
And then I have no further.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Terrific. Moving on to the update on the current projects.
sure.
We'll get an update from the department. I will say that I did have a conversation with John Marsilio this afternoon. I was not aware that he's out on disability, has been since December. He has a back issue. He's going to have an operation on his back. But one of the things we discussed was both the town hiring an engineer who would be dedicated to WPCA work and activities. Apparently that position is open, hopefully being recruited for. And on a parallel track, we are going to issue an RFP for 20 to 30 hours of external support to support John Bodie and his team on some of these projects that are kind of on the sideline and need to move forward, particularly as prices continue to increase, input costs continue to increase, and as we've discussed at length tonight, some infrastructure work needs to be done for some of these older pipes, particularly those around the Metro Center, where a significant amount of development is being planned. And we've known for years that those pipes need to be expanded and or replaced. So John Bodie, I'm hopeful that Matt has provided some good language on that RFP, that we can do whatever the internal process is to get that out over the next couple of weeks. I don't know if that needs to go through purchasing. Do you know?
I don't know, but I'll find out. I mean, yeah, I'll find out. It probably has to go through purchasing, yes.
Okay. So that's my 2 cents. Why don't you walk us through the projects in kind of priority order?
I'm just going to go off the list I have here. The Eastern Turnpike Pump Station is done. We've been trained. The only thing that's left to be done is the paving of the driveway, which will happen in the spring. East Trunk Interceptor. We're mired in at a stalemate here. We just got the additional boring information back from Ty and Bond. Somebody's going to have to go through that and see what exactly that entails. But the wetlands crossing, I've got nothing. The Riverside Drive siphon. I reached out to Conservation. I reached out to John Marsilio, and nobody knows what's going on. The outfall repair, I'm still waiting on Dennis and Chris Pierce from Wright Pierce to give me a update on the possible remedies for that problem. The microgrid, the gift that keeps on giving.
Yes.
I hate to bring this up but last month you guys allocated $111,000 to the shortfalls of that project.
We did.
Since that meeting, there's one more thing that came up, which is integrating the fuel cell to the microgrid. The fuel cell was not in place when the microgrid was thought of and designed, and it now needs to be integrated in order for them to control it. The added cost would be $9,000. Now, if there's a caveat to the whole thing, Laura Pooley beat up Schneider and asked them to hold the pricing on everything that's on the books until May 8th. So the money that was approved last month and the $8,000 if you, or the $9,000 if you approve it this month, all that pricing will hold to May 8th, and hopefully we get it through the boards and it's approved, and that's the last we talk about it until it's done.
We have to go to the boards for $9,000?
Well, we haven't, it's got to go to the boards for everything, because it's an expenditure above and beyond what was budgeted for the year. So why are you spending the money? Where is it going? So it has to go to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, RTM.
Yeah.
So
we have how many millions in cash? Yeah. Okay. Maybe Tom understands that, or Joe, yes.
I think we could make a motion to add that to the agenda tonight with a 2/3 vote. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, sure.
I'd like to make a motion to add the expenditure for the fuel cell connection of up to $9,000. Oh, no, wait a minute. First motion. I'd like to make a motion to add to the agenda tonight a vote to consider and to consider and approve $9,000 for the additional fuel cell.
Okay, second from Tom. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay,
Thank you very much.
I'd like to make a motion now to approve, we just added it to the budget, John Brody. I now like to make a motion to approve not up to $9,000 to be expended on the connection of the fuel cell.
and from Tom, comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done deal. Thank you, Ron.
Opposed?
Nice work, Joe. Be lost without you.
I&I rehabilitation, phase 4, Dennis is supposed to have the documents to me by Friday. It'll go to purchasing to go out the bid shortly after.
Let me, John, on that, when you talk to Dennis about that, ask him if they did any monitoring on Reef Road, if they looked at that area at all.
Okay. Carriage Drive, I have nothing. Thorpe Street sewer relocation, I don't know a lot, but I just heard that Cinto sold it to somebody else. And I don't know where that's going.
Okay, so that approval is going to is likely going to expire. I don't know how long that seems well over a year. Does anybody else recall?
I would think so.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
One thing coming on the radar as well, and I think this was on the books a couple of years ago, Sacred Heart is looking to add a freshman dorm onto Jefferson Street. So I know it was talked about a few years ago, but that's coming back on the radar again. They're going to want to move forward. So we were talking with Chris Rogers the other day about it, and we're going to meet again, I think, next week with someone from Sacred Heart. So there's going to be some more flow monitoring going on, and I know the commission was asking for them to replace the 8-inch pipe on Stratfield Road where it goes from 8 to 10 to 12.
Right.
So I'm not sure how that conversation is going to go, but once we have a meeting, I'll let you know.
John Brody, is there any opportunity to go to Bridgeport with that sewage? It's at the old Jewish Center, right?
Yeah,
They go both ways.
okay, I didn't know that. I know that.
Just tuck that in the back of your mind when you talk to them.
Okay.
I don't know. I'd like the I&I myself.
Just want to make sure John has all the options in his mind. And, you
Yeah.
know, I'm not saying no, I'm just saying, let's make sure we have all the options.
Very well.
Okay, I don't know anything about Carriage Drive. Has anything happened? I have no update on that whatsoever.
No update, John.
Okay.
They waiting for the spring to pave.
Yeah,
They were actually waiting for us. I got involved with that probably in January, as did John Clancy. We recall our policy called for the town doing the paving. And we changed the policy to do that. We would cover just strip paving, not the street paving. And that's, the
Right.
town attorney was looking for some clarification on that. That was the
Yeah,
last
I
thing I
think-
had heard.
I think, Joe, what they're looking at is a whole half lane mill and pave on that one side. So I don't know if they're just gonna do a trench or settle for a trench. So,
No overflows or issues in the past month.
Okay. All right, we covered a lot of ground tonight. I appreciate everyone joining and participating. Are there any comments or questions?
On number on the projects on Uncle Road, is that still on there? Are we still waiting for them to do any kind of monitoring, or did we make a decision tonight saying that, it's a no-go?
The decision was made to deny without prejudice, so that they could come back in and
Okay.
and do more monitoring. I think that if we ask that monitoring, we should also focus a bit downstream now that we know what we know about Reef Road. Maybe John Clancy or John Boda, you can ask Chris Rogers where that downstream monitoring was done for 15 Umpqua.
Yeah.
I'm not,
It was, if I recall, it was done by the gazebo, right in
Yeah.
that area.
That's what I think as
It
well.
wasn't as far down as Reef Road.
Yeah,
you know.
so I don't know how it's going from 40% there to 80% just around the corner.
How does stormwater sound to you?
Yeah, or
I&I.
maybe this,
May not be sewage,
or the adequate,
maybe
maybe
it's simply
just
stormwater getting into the system.
could be, or the slope's not right.
Mhm.
When I did the calculation for the way it is currently, without any kind of adding of Umpqua, it was still in the 80s. So what we're saying is that pipe right now is tapping out. That if we're reading this right, so by TVing it or whatever we're gonna do,
Yeah.
we'll find how accurate the current
Yeah.
situation.
Well, Ron, your point's a good one, that we have a major storm event coming. So if we could TV around that storm event, that would be ideal. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Ron, second from Tom. Thank you, everyone. All in
Thank you.
favor? All right.